It's a packed Friday. Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals was fantastic again. The Detroit Lakers go back-to-back on the golf course in more ways than one. Also, Cory Provus is with us on a Friday morning to chat about the Twins, and we'll touch on a crazy story in Minnesota State baseball. Hot Mic starts right now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is up.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota. Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to this Friday the 13th edition of Hot Mic. Spooky. Thanks for joining us however you are on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, also streaming on Inform.com, WDAY Plus as well. Hello, everybody. Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo today, most of next week while he's out on vacation. A big couple of days coming up for him and his family. So excited for him getting some much-deserved time off. So I'll be here for that time span. Dom will be back on next Friday, and that's when, of course, we hit the air for the Red River Amateur Tournament at the Moorhead Country Club. So I'm really, really looking forward for that coming up. Looking forward to the upcoming week as well. So the goal, if the studio doesn't start on fire, we'll call that a win in the next week. Thanks for joining us today. 13th of June today, Friday the 13th. We got a great show on tap for you today. We're going to touch on that as a part of that. Hockey fights. That's coming up in just a couple of moments, and that leads into the Stanley Cup Finals as well. Game 4 yesterday, unreal hockey game. If you're a fan of hockey, if you're a fan of sport in general, yesterday was the day for you. We'll touch on that game in just a couple of moments. Of course, it's Friday. That means Cory Provus will join us at 9:35, chat about everything going on with the Minnesota Twins. The month of June has not been kind to the Twins, and yesterday proved that again as well. A tough day to be a Twins fan, tough day to be a Twin. Let's just leave it at that. We'll chat more about that in just a little bit. We're also going to have Dustin Martin, the head coach of Detroit Lakes Girls Golf, on the program to start hour number 2 this morning. Lakers dominant in Minnesota State golf, both now, especially on the girls, but now on the boys' side as well. Go back-to-back in more ways than one, and we'll touch on that later on in the show. And also a crazy story that we featured on our news last night with Red Lake County Baseball. I had never seen anything like it. They were playing in the semifinals. Their game started in St. Cloud, going up against the number 1 team in the bracket. They made it to extra innings. Rain came down. Then they decided to move the game in the 9th inning to Alexandria, which is 70 miles away from St. Cloud. So we'll touch on that a little bit more. Red Lake County, spoiler alert, went on to win that game and advance to their first state championship game, which will be played tomorrow. So we'll have their head coach, Mike Gullingsrud, on to recap a crazy day yesterday as we get ready for their championship game on Saturday, tomorrow. So looking forward to that. A lot going on today. As I mentioned, Stanley Cup Finals. Let's start there. Fantastic game. Just to recap where things were going into last night. Florida leading the Edmonton Oilers 2 games to 1. First 2 games of the series went double OT, and then, of course, we showed you the highlights earlier this week of Game 3 on Tuesday. It was a blowout. Florida got a pretty handed win there against the Edmonton Oilers. That spurred into the conversation on if fights should be allowed in hockey, which I'll touch back on that yesterday. Dom and I debated on that on the show yesterday morning. But Game 4 last night was another doozy. Let's roll the clips of that one. In Florida, once again, back down there for the second game in a row. T. Swift was in the building. Look at her. Travis Kelce there as well. Woohoo! Good for the game of hockey. It's growing. Let's go to the action. In the first period, Florida on a two-man advantage. Matthew Tkachuk made him pay for it. His first goal of the Stanley Cup final, beating Stuart Skinner, makes it a 1-0 lead for the Florida Panthers. We go just a little over 3 minutes left in the first. It's Tkachuk again with his second goal of the night, also on the power play. 2-0 lead for Florida. All right, things are looking good for the Panthers. They're going to take a 3-1 lead in this series, and I confirmed that in my head after this one with less than a minute left in the first. Carter Verhaeghe, with a great feed to Antoine Lundell in front. 3-0 lead after one for Florida. Here's the stat for you, nerd stat of the day. Home teams in the Stanley Cup final are 158-1 when leading by 3+ goals. And the only loss came in 1919. It's 3-1 at this point. New goalie in the game for the Oilers and Calvin Pickard. And man, was he fantastic. Came in for Skinner, and he was just making saves. Shuts down Lundell there, looking for his second goal of the game. This would make it 3-2. Darnell Nurse. Okay, hold the phone here a second. We got a ball game here in the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 4. Darnell Nurse with a shot over the top of Sergei Bobrovsky, who's been fantastic. Then we go to under 5 minutes left in the second period. Still same score, 3-2. It's Nurse again in front. Vasily Podkolzin, who gets the rebound and scores. It's 3-3. Can you believe it? And then there was craziness to end the second as well. Tkachuk again, looking for his third in the game, and the defense for the Oilers somehow got in front of the net. Pretty impressive. There was quite a few of that. We'll show you that throughout the game here. Third period was madness. Bobrovsky with a save off the blade of his skate. That's impressive. Keeps Florida tied in this game. But then Edmonton had other thoughts. A ripper from Jake Wallman on the one-timer. 4-3. 4 unanswered goals for Edmonton throughout the game. They now take the lead midway, late, let's say, in the third, but there was still plenty of time. 25 seconds was plenty of time for Florida. Empty net, extra skater out there, scrum in front. Sam Reinhart wasn't ready to be done, and the Panthers do the unthinkable. They tie the game up at 4, and we go to overtime for the third time in this series. Wow, I jumped out of my recliner, I will say, once that goal went in with 25 seconds left. I also jumped out of my recliner in overtime as well. It was crazy. Face-off in the D zone for the Panthers. Sergei Bobrovsky is scrambling. The Panthers scrambling in the blue paint. That puck hits off of the pipe twice, and somehow Edmonton's not able to close out the game there early in the in overtime. You'll see it here a couple of more times. It hits off of the left post. Once there, another time there, back out in front. Bobrovsky sits on it. Florida has an opportunity to win it. Sam Bennett off of the glove of Pickard and then off of the crossbar. Oh, what a sigh of relief for the backup goalie. So we continue on. Oilers on the attack. It's Leon Draisaitl. Who else besides Connor McDavid to get the overtime winner? A one-handed flip towards the goal of Bobrovsky, hits off a Florida defender and finds the back of the net. Oh, heartbreak for Florida, elation for Edmonton. Unbelievable comeback. Unbelievable comeback. And so far this series, it's produced the most overtime goals in a single postseason in NHL history. We've had 4 so far. So the Oilers win 5-4, series tied at 2. What a game. What a game. That gets us ready for Game 5 coming up. A look at the box score here. Florida, 3 goals in the first. Edmonton, 3 goals in the second. Both teams had a goal in the third. And then Leon Draisaitl with that game-winning goal. Stuart Skinner for Edmonton played 20 minutes. Calvin Pickard played the final 51 and was fantastic. Matthew Tkachuk, big game, 3 points. Sam Reinhart, 3 points as well. Had that goal with 25 seconds left. No fighting. There was no fighting in the game. So that was a win for a lot of people, and that game didn't call for fighting. It didn't need to happen. So here's a look at the rest of the schedule for the series. Quick turnaround for Game 5. It's in Edmonton, so they go from Florida all the way up to Canada. And Game 5 is tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the Rogers Place. And then Game 6, which will be needed, is next Tuesday, and that's back in Florida. Both games at 7 o'clock on TNT. So, as I mentioned, no fighting in the game yesterday. And if we go back to the show yesterday with Dom and I on Thursday, we had the debate on if fighting, how can you justify it in the game of hockey? And, of course, that stems from Game 3 in the series against Edmonton in Florida when there was a line brawl in a 5-1 game with 9 minutes left in the third. Edmonton was frustrated, tempers boiled over, and I will agree with Dom on this. I can't get behind that. Yeah, it's entertaining for some. I will fight that people are there. Some people are there to see that, and that brings a level of excitement. But in the Stanley Cup Finals, I will agree with Dom on that. Not the place for it. This game yesterday, we were wondering if fighting was going to be a topic of conversation, if it was going to be prominent in Game 4, and it wasn't. And it didn't have to be. And I that was good. Now, I will go and say this as well. After the show yesterday, I reached out to all my hockey connections I could think of, and just to get their thoughts on what was going on. I actually reached out to Dean Wilson. We hopped on a phone call for about a half hour talking about the topic at hand here. He gave me a pros and cons list, and I agree with his thoughts. Fighting in the game of hockey is ingrained in a big part of the culture of this sport. It's tradition. There is a level of accountability, and I mentioned it yesterday as well, policing the game. If McDavid gets lit up on a nasty call, you're not going to let that go unscathed. That's just how things are. I made the example yesterday of Wayne Gretzky. If he got lit up, you're going to retaliate on that. It's just like getting hit by a pitch in baseball. It's just a little bit more physical. Now, we did get an email yesterday talking about player safety, and obviously that is very important. But think of it this way as well. It's a rule in the rule book, Rule 46 in the hockey rule book. Fighting is allowed, and the referees do a good job of letting it happen for a little bit and then breaking it up once it gets to its end. And yes, safety is important, but there's another thing you got to remember as well. These athletes, these hockey players, they're essentially volunteering for this. It's not like you're forced to go out and drop the gloves. If one person drops the gloves, I mean, you can always just skate away, turn the shoulder, be a bigger man, I guess. But they're volunteering for it in a sense. And he mentioned it too, and I agree. Entertainment. Dom didn't believe it, and I'll hold firm on this. And I spoke to a lot of people yesterday who agree with this as well. There is an entertainment factor to fighting in the game of hockey. It's unlike any other sport. I think it brings a different level to it that you can't get. Or you shouldn't get in basketball, football, and so have you. And I do believe that there is a population out there that leaves their seats when they go to a hockey game and they see that happen. Yeah, and the cons, he did give me some cons in this, and I totally agree. And I do want to stress again, I do agree with a lot of what Dom said and what some of the viewers reached out to us about yesterday. Obviously, injuries are a part of that. A bad example. Yes, it can lead to a bad example, and it glorifies violence. I totally agree with that. And let's be clear, and we mentioned this yesterday. There's no place for it in the youth level. USHL, no. College hockey, high school hockey, no. But at the pro level, things get a little different. I'll leave my thoughts on that. No fighting yesterday. It didn't change the outcome of the game. And Dom also mentioned too that fighting takes away from the great level of play. I don't. The play's still there. The play's still good. But I'm not going to argue with Dom when he's not here. So we'll save that for down the road as well. We'll leave it at that. NBA Finals didn't have a game last night. They're back in action tonight. Indiana leads Oklahoma City 2-1 in the series. Game 4 is 7:30 tonight. You can catch it on ABC right here on WDAY. Game 5 is on Monday, also on ABC. We'll give you the highlights of how the game tonight wrapped up coming when we come back on Monday. We'll chat about that game as well. So NBA Finals. Don't count out the small market teams. Edmonton, Indiana, Oklahoma City, don't count them out. It's been fun to watch them play. Okay, let's chat before we go to our break here to open up the show here and set up the show with our guests once again. Let's talk Twins and spend a little time on this. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the month of June hasn't been fantastic. There's been 5 games now that the Twins have given up double-digit runs, and yesterday just so happened to be another one of those days. Yesterday, Twins wrapping up a 6-game homestand against the Texas Rangers, trying to take the series, leave Target Field 500. It was a midday matinee yesterday, Bailey Ober on the mound, and it was also a home run fest for the Texas Rangers. This was the second pitch of the ball game, sent out of the park by Josh Smith, making a 1-0 lead. Twins would get some life back in the bottom of the first. Carlos Correa with a drive into left field. Byron Buxton would come in to score. Okay, 1-1, not that bad. Then we go to the top of the second. Jake Berger, I remember him. It's a solo homer, 2-1 lead for the Rangers. That would be just their second of 6 home runs they would hit in the game. So then we stay in the top of the second. Another line drive into left field will come around. Another run scores. 3-1 lead for the Rangers. Also in the second, if you didn't know him earlier in the week, you probably know him now. Wyatt Langford, the pride of Florida. It's a 3-run home run. 6-1 lead for the Rangers still in the second inning. Tough day for Bailey Ober on the mound today. We'll chat more about that as the morning goes on. We go to the top of the fourth here. 6-1 lead for the Rangers. Evan Carter, he gets on the home run train. That's a solo shot. Make it 7-1 for the Rangers. Oh, we were watching this in the office yesterday. Oh, man. That's a tough pill to swallow. Top of the sixth, Adolis Garcia. He hits a 3-run homer. Okay, let's make it a 13-1 game. Another double-digit game where the Twins give up that many runs in the month of June. It's tough. Top of the ninth, familiar face Jonah Bride on the mound. Always fun when a position player's out there. He gives up a homer to Sam Haggerty. 16-3, the final score to the Rangers. Second game this series where the Twins give up 16 runs to the Rangers. They gave up 16 runs in game 1. So the homestand comes to an end. Minnesota goes 2-4. They got a 6-game stretch coming up on the road. And again, we'll talk with Cory Provus coming up in a couple of minutes to preview that. Houston and Cincinnati. Tough day all around for the Twins. Bailey Ober getting the start on the mound, went 4 2/3, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, a couple home runs in there as well. Carlos Correa had the single. Buxton was 0-for, but he did score a run, and just great day. Great day to be a Ranger. There's no doubt about that. They put up 5 in the second, 6 in the sixth, and 3 in the ninth to put the cherry on top. So again, 16-3, the final score. And as I mentioned, we have a 6-game road stretch coming up here for Minnesota. You got Houston on deck starting tonight. And then after 3 games there that wrap up on Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, they're in Cincinnati, take on some National League opponent, or competition, in the Reds. So that's what's coming up for the Twins. Again, we'll touch on that a little bit more here. This is the pitching matchup for tonight. Chris Paddock will get the start. It's a player to keep an eye on. We'll talk more about Chris when Cory's on later on this morning as well. He's 2-5 so far this season, but he's going to have to be the catalyst with Pablo Lopez and Zebby Matthews now out of the pitching rotation for Minnesota, so we'll keep an eye on that. Twins are second in the AL Central right now, 8 games back of Detroit. Detroit has their series with the Reds going on, so we're pulling for the Reds, and then we're hoping that they don't do too well. So we'll see. Eric back there in the control room. You got something for me, Eric? What do you got?
Yeah, I just saw this yesterday. The Twins-Detroit game on June 29th, I believe it is. is now going to be on Sunday Night Baseball.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've been on Sunday Night Baseball in a long time.
And you said 29th on ESPN at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, the June 20th, the Tiger Series, that Sunday night game.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one, getting back on the national stage. And that's a big series, too, of course, with Detroit leading the AL Central. So looking forward to that. But again, we got Houston tonight. Quick turnaround. There's one thing I want to mention, too, before we go into break, and we're going to touch on it more later. There's a tweet. Audra Martin tweeted about this, reporter for the Twins. Bailey Ober, after the start yesterday, it sounds like he was getting death threats after his performance. And we know his fastball has lost a couple of ticks, and he's been dealing with a hip issue. But there is no place, not in the game of baseball, not anywhere, where an athlete should deal with this. We're playing a game. It's not that deep to threat someone with their life. And I think Audrey had some good words here on this. Bailey, yesterday, you could see it in the numbers. There was improvement. Yes, the ball was getting hit, and it was getting hit hard. One of those days. But there was improvements, and his fastball was reaching into the 90s. But there's no place for that. Just disgusting. We're playing a game here. I hope the best for Bailey. I hope everything starts coming around for him. Fun player to watch. Sounds like he's a great guy as well. But let's leave it at that. Let's let the athletes do their thing. And if it's a bad day, it's a bad day. It's all here. We're all here for fun. It was tough to see that. But again, we'll chat more Twins when Cory Provus is on the show at 9:35. We'll talk about the series coming up. Take a look back at the homestand as well. Look at the guests brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Again, at 10 o'clock, Dustin Martin joins us, the head coach of Detroit Lakes Girls Golf. Chat about their state championship performance at Ridges at Sand Creek in Jordan, Minnesota. It was a fantastic week for them, going back-to-back, another title for the DL Lakers. We'll chat about that to start hour number 2. And also at 10:35, crazy story out of Minnesota State High School baseball. Red Lake County baseball head coach Mike Gullingsrud is going to join us at 10:35, talk about their crazy day in the semifinal round from playing Parker's Prairie in St. Cloud, going into extras, and then moving the game to Alexandria, then winning the game to advance to their first state title. So we get the full details on that when Mike joins us at 10:35. All right, we're just rocking and rolling. We're due for a break. We'll step aside. Hot Mike continues after this on this Friday morning. Back on this Friday morning, Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo. Thank you for joining us as we wrap up another week. Hope you have a good week planned out. Looking forward to getting a couple of days off and enjoying hopefully some nice weather. Looks kind of not too nice out there right now. It was raining on my way in, but nonetheless, yesterday, Dom showed you on the show the performance of North Dakota State Sam Roller and what he put together at the NCAA Track and Field Championships in Eugene, Oregon the other day. He competed in the javelin yesterday or a couple of days ago, and became an honorable mention All-American, which was fantastic. Also Elite 90 winner. And he had a throw of 198.9, which is really impressive to boost some momentum there for NDSU and continue the stellar season that the track and field program has had over there. Also, yesterday, a pair of UND track and field athletes were competing in the national championships in Oregon. If you remember, on Tuesday, we had Kenna Curry on, a thrower for the Fighting Hawks, and she was competing in the hammer throw yesterday, and what a performance that she put on. What a performance. We'll show you the clip here. It was her very first throw of the competition yesterday. She just went ahead and shattered her own school record that she set just a couple of weeks ago at the Summit League Championships. Her first throw goes for 223 feet, 7 inches. And for all of you that want to change the metric system, that's 68.16 meters, 68.16. So that shatters her own school record, which was previously 68.01. And that throw, and again, it was her first one, it kept her in good contention throughout the day. And she finishes in 7th on the national stage, folks. That's huge. Huge for UND track and field. No doubt about that. So she captured first-team All-American honors. Congratulations to Kenna Curry. Wraps up her collegiate career, and I think we can safely say arguably one of, if not the best thrower in North Dakota history. I think regardless, men or women, really impressive career that she's put together. She did put together. Of course, she's in her 5th year now. She told us on Tuesday that she plans on sticking around Grand Forks, continuing to train, and also looking to finish up a graduate degree as well. So best of luck to her. But what she put together, not just at the track and field championships, but throughout her career, really impressive stuff. Also, yesterday, Jayden Keeler competing in the 10K distance run for UND. Really good time out of her. She finished 16th with a time of 32:59.12. That was good for second-team All-American. I believe, if I remember correctly, the top 24 get put into All-American honors, and she finished that mark. So what a day for UND track and field yesterday at the Track and Field National Championships. So congratulations to those two doing North Dakota in the Summit League prep. No doubt about that. And also congratulations to Sam Roller as well for a good accomplishment there. It's 9:30. Let's take a break. When we come back on the other side, we're going to get Cory Provus on the air, and we're chatting Twins baseball here on this Friday morning. That's coming up next on Hot Mic.
The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out swinging at 101. Swinging a drive, left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
It's a Friday morning at 9:35, and that means the voice of the Minnesota Twins on Twins TV, Cory Provus, joins us on the show as he does each and every Friday. Of course, our conversation with Cory brought to you by Welton's Tire Service. The Twins are putting more miles on. They got a 6-game road stretch coming up that starts today. Cory, we were just chatting off air. A quick turnaround going from the matinee yesterday. Now you're down in Houston. How was the trip to Texas?
It was fine. We got out of town just before the weather got nasty in the cities, and we arrived into Houston just before the weather got pretty intense here. So it was a good pocket to travel. And, normally when you come off a 3-city road trip, you have a 3-city homestand, but because they had to flip, that Rays series, that's why in the initial schedule, that's why it didn't happen. So the Twins will have their 3-team homestand leading up to the All-Star break, which isn't bad. That's kind of a good space to have one before we all step aside and take a break. But back on the road, a tough place to play, and hopefully the guys can turn it around tonight.
Road Warriors once again. We'll touch on those games in just a little bit, but I want to talk about the homestand that just wrapped up, and not the outcome that the Twins wanted. They won 2 of 6 games. What do you take away from the Blue Jays series and the Rangers series over the last couple of days here? Because it was tough.
Yeah, I would say that starting pitching and pitching in general is a problem right now. I mean, the Twins' June ERA is almost 6.5, and that's the highest in baseball. So it's great, Sam, that the offense is performing better, scoring, I think, this month over 5 runs a game or around 5 runs a game. That's great. That's a good sign. But we've seen the team ERA almost double in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. And I think we all expected some regression. That's going to happen. But to go from a team ERA around 3.3 to like 6.5, that I did not anticipate. So I thought there would be somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's over 4, under 5. But, the starters, their number one job is to keep their team in the game. And just being honest, they haven't done that. And that's what's happened here lately. There have been some clunkers going back to the A series in Sacramento. David Festa got knocked around much better last time. But Bailey's in a rut right now at a couple of rough starts, and then Simeon got knocked around, and then Bailey got hit hard again yesterday. And the difference is, look what David Festa did a couple nights ago on Wednesday. Just keep your team in the game. 6 innings, 2 runs. Keep your team in it and let this offense kind of perform. And that's kind of what stood out to me.
To expand on that a little bit, we got 5 games here in the month of June where the Twins have given up double-digit runs. Is that something – obviously the pitching staff is at where it's at, but is that something you look into much, or it happens, let's move on?
I mean, it does happen. You're going to have your clunkers. I think what's odd is the fact that Jonah Bride is throwing 3 times in 8 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty odd. When before that, Sam, it was 1 time all year. That was Willie Castro back in early April, late March, that White Sox game, whatever that was. So it had been a while. Kike Hernandez is throwing a bunch for the Dodgers. They're they have the best team in baseball right now. We know that. So it's happening. But what I know, I didn't see it happening in this quickly, with all of a sudden going from this dominant staff to one that's beaten around at this almost record-setting pace. I did not foresee coming just the drop-off as drastic as it's been.
What do you think of Jonah Bride on the mound? Has he got a future in this relief role?
Well, we did a poll yesterday on the air. The nastiest pitch. What's the one pitch you don't want to see? And Perk and Morney were like, Jax's changeup. I'm like, forget that. I want Jonah Bride's knuckleball, man. That thing floats and moves and dances all around. He's fine. It's fine. It's something that I don't think anybody enjoys doing. I don't like seeing it. I think it's bad for the game. Trevor Plouffe, he's very open about this when he joined us on TV. He thinks that you should almost wave the white flag and say that's it. The game's over. When you do that, I don't think you can do that, because then people paid money for 9 innings of baseball. I think it's incumbent upon the teams to just be like, hey, there are going to be days that big league pitchers have to wear it, and they're going to have to go out a little bit more. I think there should be more of an emphasis on that. I understand there are, roster rules and limits with how often now you can option a player up and down. I think that's kind of changed that a little bit, that it's a maximum of 5 options in a year, or you expose that player to waivers. I don't know if that's played into it, but it's in the back of my mind when you do see a guy in a situation like this have to eat it, have to take it, and then send him down. You don't have the freedom, Sam, to do that with the same luxury that you once did.
I think to expand on that, I was watching the game yesterday, and I would say there was a collective heart skip beats when Jonah Bride got hit with that liner in the foot. I would imagine that was the same reaction from you guys up in the booth as well. That's the last thing you want to see when a position player is pitching.
Yeah, I mean, we got into some nonsense, discussions at that point. We're trying to keep people entertained, and then all of a sudden you shift to that. Like, come on, that's what you don't want to see happen. And and he took a line drive, and it got him pretty good in the foot. It took a huge, carom in the air, so it caught him pretty flush there. But he looked okay. I saw him, kind of yesterday as we traveled, walking to the hotel. There wasn't a limp from Jonah, but Jonah plays against lefties, and the Twins are going to see 2 lefties in this series tonight and Sunday. So that's what came to mind too. Is that okay? We're laughing about Jonah pitching for the 3rd time, great, but they're going to want his bat. Probably in the lineup here in Houston. So hopefully physically, I'm sure he's sore this morning, but we'll see if that factors into whether or not he's playing tonight.
We'll keep an eye on that. I also want to touch on Bailey Ober, and you mentioned him. He got the start yesterday, and we know that his fastball is dipped, and there's been some hip issues that he's been dealing with. But you could see it yesterday in the numbers that there was a step in the right direction with him. Obviously, the ball was getting hit, and it was getting hit hard, just what it was, but there was some improvement there from Bailey, would you say?
Yeah, I would say velocity wasn't the issue yesterday. I think that had been, and deservedly so, I think a place to go to for concern. I didn't leave yesterday's start with issues about that.
Yeah.
But the walks, I mean, Bailey walking a career high 6 when he'd walked, 15 all year leading into that start. So that was odd. Then he pointed, I guess he mentioned post-game about his release point, that he was off with that. So it's tough to find out right now, because you take Pablo out and Zebby was throwing well. You need Ryan, you need Ober, you need Paddock. And Paddock's been wonderful. Paddock goes here tonight. But what you also need out of these guys, you need some length. And Paddock has been better lately, giving more length than Joe Ryan. And Ryan has been better giving length than Bailey Ober. So that's been puzzling. But, Bailey's a worker. He's not just going to sit back and say, woe is me. The guy really cares and really works. So he's going to get right back to work today. He's going to get the ball again in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's a launching pad. I mean, that ball is going to fly there. It's not a great place to pitch if you're a fly ball pitcher. And Bailey is, like many on the staff, a fly ball pitcher. So, yeah, he's got to figure it out. Now, the Reds have some good hitters, so it'll be a challenge for him next time he gets the ball on this road trip.
You mentioned his name there, and I don't believe we've talked about him on this program yet since the last time you were on. Zebby Matthews, is there an update that you know of on his injury, the severity of that, and when we could potentially see him back?
It's not as serious, they're saying, as Pablo.
Okay.
But still, he's not going to throw for 2 weeks. So I think it's highly unlikely we'll see him pitch again this month. So then I think you're getting closer to, maybe right before the All-Star break, or maybe they take the break and then see what's happening. In my mind, that's when I think. I have no idea, but just kind of doing the math and how careful and cautious the Twins are, deservedly so, with injuries, and especially a guy like Zebby, who is a big part of this team's plan moving forward. In my mind, I'd almost be surprised. It'd be great if we see him before the All-Star break. So I'm thinking more that Dodgers-Rockies series out of the break. That's kind of in my mind when Zebby might come back.
Was there a sense at all with the team that can we just catch a break with all this stuff?
I don't think so, because the injury bug was more position driven than it was pitching driven and pitcher driven early in the season. The Twins were very fortunate that they didn't have many injuries with their pitchers, both starters and bullpen arms, to start the year. You just want, when they're going to happen, like Pablo's first IL, grade 1 hamstring injury, down a couple of weeks. That's what you're always hoping for when a guy goes down, that it's on that side of the spectrum. But if you just study the trends across the game, that significant injuries, every team is going to have them, multiple, throughout the season. I mean, Cole Reagan's just got lost. He's got a rotator cuff strain. That's a terrible injury for any pitcher. Jackson Jobe needs Tommy John. He's out the rest of the year. So I think the Twins are fortunate that they haven't had, to this point, season-ending injuries to their pitchers.
Right.
And, Pablo's down a couple of months, but Rocco was very candid and very open that he doesn't think this was a season-ending injury for Pablo, because he's been very healthy the last couple of years. He's going to work to get back at it. So I agree that I think we'll see Pablo still throw meaningful innings for this team, the second half of the season.
One more before we go to break on the pitching staff here with Lopez out. The Twins claimed left-handed pitcher from Pittsburgh in Joey Wentz. What'd you think of that transaction? And have you heard a timeline of when we could see him throw potentially?
So Wentz did throw yesterday.
Oh, he did? Okay, I missed that.
He did come in, and we saw him pitch. He hadn't thrown at a big league game, Sam, since late May.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocco was asked before the game about Joey and what his role could be. And he's going to be a long man, but he's like, I don't think he'll throw 40 pitches today. Well, darn it, he threw 38 yesterday, kind of in that emergency spot. So I think the role that he takes on is length. I think with Simeon Woods Richardson, with David Festa, these aren't guys yet that have been able to show at the big league level they can pitch all that deep. So I think Joey's a guy that might be a bridge, in the 5th, 6th inning to get you to a Varland, to get you to a Stewart if a guy or two is down. That's the role that I think he takes on. And I wouldn't be shocked, we're going to see Travis Adams again at some point. We still haven't, seen him pitch in a big league game yet. Mm-hmm. But he's somebody that his role with the Saints, he was kind of piggybacking Zebby and Festa. And as the Twins have this younger group right now of starters who don't have the innings that more veteran seasoned guys do, I think you'll see more of that. And I think when we see Adams again, it'll add more length to this bullpen and to this team. So I think that's the role that Joey Wentz takes on right now.
Okay. Looking forward to see him out on the mound a little bit more. Again, Cory Provus joining us on this Friday morning here on Hot Mic. We're due for a break. Let's take one. When we come back, we'll chat about this road stretch coming up for the Twins. Friday morning continues when we come back on Hot Mic. Back here on this Friday morning edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, also on Inform.com and WDAY Plus. A couple of minutes left here with our guy Cory Provus on this Friday morning, chatting Twins baseball. Of course, he's in Houston getting ready for the 6-game road stretch coming up here. I want to go back before we talk about the games coming up and go back to the homestand. Got to talk about Byron Buxton and the series that he had against the Rangers. 6 hits in the first 2 games. He had a great catch in center field and a bomb as well. It was fun to see him really swinging a hot bat, wasn't it?
Yeah, our game is better when the stars play.
Yeah.
And when injuries happen throughout the game, like I mentioned, Jackson Jobe, that's not. I don't enjoy that. That's not good for our game. Jackson Jobe is a great. Does it help the Twins strategically in some way? Maybe. The Tigers are a great team. They have been all year, but that's bad for the game. Jackson Jobe is a young stud power arm that I like watching compete. Byron Buxton is one of the game stars, and sadly, his body has robbed him from playing the amount that we all wished he did play. Because if he was out there, this guy would be a perennial all-star. He'd be an MVP candidate every year. He'd be a lock for the Twins Hall of Fame, and who knows? It just hasn't happened. And what we're seeing this year is kind of like, man, it's so fun to watch. What a special player. What a special talent. He's humble. He's excited. He checks every box, and he always has. But we've just seen it in small samples. And so what I'm enjoying, I think all of us are enjoying, is seeing, what a healthy offseason looked like for Byron Buxton. Because this offseason, Sam, was the first time in years he wasn't coming off any kind of surgery.
Right.
So he could train differently. He wasn't on any kind of, set timeline. The doctors and surgeons said, okay, do this at this point, this at this point. He was free to do his own thing. And whatever he did, it's worked, because he's been one of the game's best players. And with the All-Star game coming up, Sam, in Atlanta in July, I think the native Georgian, how cool that would be for Byron to be an All-Star once again. And I think he'll be there. I think he and Joan Duran right now, to me, are having very, very All-Star worthy first halves. Griffin Jax, too, to an extent.
Yep.
I think with Jax, what's going to be tough, though, is his ERA.
Yeah.
And that is something that people point to. His strikeout rate is awesome. I mean, he's one of the best relievers in the game. I think opposing hitters will tell you that. But his ERA is over 4. And I think that's going to probably keep him out. But I think Buxton and Duran, to me right now, are certainly deserving All-Stars.
I think for Twins fans as well, to see the longevity that Byron Buxton has had with Minnesota, it's refreshing to see him back on his ways of playing some great baseball. And we only got you here for a couple more minutes. I want to talk about the upcoming series. You're in Houston. They're the top of the AL West. Twins dropped a couple of games to them earlier this season. What can you say about the 3-game stretch coming up here?
Speaking of Jax, that ninth inning he had, during that opening series to Target Field, that stands out, because the Twins had that game 1. And that would have been the difference, winning 2 out of 3 instead dropping 2 out of 3. They lost that one in extra innings. Houston is an amazing story, because they don't bring back the same team. Guys leave, whether Correa or Springer and now Bregman, and they just continue to win. And here they're in first place. They were down. Seattle was in front in the West. Then they've fallen off, and now the Astros are 8 games over 500, and their pitching is really good. The Twins are going to see a Cy Young candidate in Hunter Brown on Saturday, one of the best pitchers in the game. But they're going to see a rookie lefty tonight in Colton Gordon. That really, if you look at what he throws, Patrick Corbin yesterday threw a cutter. Tonight Gordon doesn't throw a cutter, but very similar pitch mix, velocity. Gordon a lower release point, but seeing, I think, something quite familiar that they saw yesterday. I wonder how advantageous that's going to be for the hitters tonight. But 2 lefties coming up this weekend. They won't see Yordan Alvarez. He's hurt. He's on the IL. So that's, from a winning standpoint, that helps the Twins. But again, I like seeing that guy hit. He's a beast. But Jeremy Pena's been great. Jose Altuve's Altuve. Cam Smith plays a really good right field. So Houston's going to be good. Their bullpen is awesome. We know Josh Hader has the 9th inning. So tough team to strike out too. That's been a strength of their team. They don't walk much, but they don't strike out much. So contact is going to be plenty here this weekend.
You mentioned his name earlier, and you also mentioned him last week as well. Chris Paddock, who's getting the start tonight for the Twins. He's going to be the catalyst with Pablo out. That's what you said yesterday, and I totally agree with you. His last 4 outings, he's gotten some distance, but he just hasn't found that win yet. What are you hoping to see from Chris tonight?
Run support.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the guy that just hasn't received it. As the Twins' offense has been up and down, but lately it's been really good. For Paddock, he's getting no support offensively. So it's another indicator that I don't look at wins and losses as the end all be all. I think we've learned, over time that there's other ways to measure a pitcher's success or lack thereof. And if you're just going on Paddock's record, you would think, boy, he's having a bad season. He's not. Chris Paddock is having a great season, the best he's looked as a Twin. He's an impending free agent, so that certainly is motivating for him to throw well this season, because there's going to be a pot of gold for him coming up at the end of the rainbow here if he stays this consistent. So with Paddock, again, there's going to be contact, there's going to be runs, but length. I think they've got to have it tonight. They need at least 6 innings out of Paddock here tonight, just to try and set the tone and give the bullpen a chance, but just keep your team in it. That's what's been missing here in some recent losses, just some poor starts where the Twins are buried early in the game. And thankfully, for a while, that hasn't plagued Chris Paddock. He's been wonderful, and hopefully we see another great start tonight.
Absolutely. Cory, I appreciate you taking some time as you do each and every Friday. Best of luck tonight and this weekend on the call. We'll see you next week.
All right, Sam. Thanks, man.
Cory Provus. Yeah, absolutely. You too. Cory Provus, the voice of the Minnesota Twins on Twins TV, joining us on this Friday morning as he does every week during the baseball season. Big thanks to him for coming on here today once again. Just a reminder, 7:10 tonight, first pitch. Paddock and Gordon will go at it on the bump. 3:10 tomorrow is the start time in Houston, and then 1:10 on Sunday. So a couple of afternoon games over the weekend. Then they get an off day, and then it's the Reds in Cincinnati to follow that. Again, big thank you to Cory, chatting Twins baseball and everything going on. A lot of news on the pitching staff so far. All right, we're due for a break as we get ready for hour number 2. We're going to chat Detroit Lakes golf. Their girls' head golf coach will join us, Dustin Martin, in just a couple of moments. And then, of course, later on at 10:35, we're chatting Red Lake County baseball and their absolutely crazy day that led them to the state championship game coming up tomorrow. That's coming up later on as well. Hot Mike continues after this.
This is Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Back for hour number 2 on this Friday morning. Thanks for joining us on WDAY Extra, also streaming on Inform.com and WDAY Plus as well. Coming up in just a little bit, we are going to chat about the U.S. Open. Of course, we got the Red River Amateur coming up next week. We'll preview that a little bit more next week. A lot of golf going on. And if you've missed it over the last couple of days, the Minnesota State Golf Tournament was going on, and it just wrapped up not too long ago. And, man, what a week it has been to be a Laker from Detroit Lakes. And that's where we welcome in our next guest. He is the head coach of the Detroit Lakes girls golf team, fresh off another state championship. It's Dustin Martin joining us on this Friday morning. Dustin, appreciate you. Thanks for taking some time. Have you and the girls come down after another state championship? Congratulations on going back-to-back.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for having me on. I don't think I've come down, so I know the girls probably haven't come down yet either. So
to go back-to-back in Class 2A, it's not an easy thing to do. Now this is the third time, I believe, in school history that this has happened. Up to 9 state championships now. That's really impressive. What does that say about the history of your program? And to add on to that, what can you say about that?
It just, it starts with Jim Buckles, who's was a head coach that passed away last year. He was the first head coach. Then I went to Kelly Harrier with Kate Smith's reign and Natalie Roth's play in there. And that was about, 5-6 state titles there. And then Chris Smith got a couple, and I coached under Chris for a couple seasons. And then, now we're on 9 already. It's it's pretty remarkable. I know it's tough just to win one. Schools would be happy just to have, one state title in a given sport. So to have 9, we're very fortunate.
Really cool. We're watching some video here from that final day at Ridges at Sand Creek down in Jordan. Describe the 2 days in that tournament. Give us a breakdown of how things fell. It looked like you guys had a fairly comfortable lead throughout the thing.
Yeah, Minnewaska, we knew that they would be there at the end. They were the second ranked team. We were first ranked team. They were the second scoring average. We were the first throughout the whole season. Um, there was just I knew our team was better than their team when it came down to it, and it showed on the final medal stand. They had three golfers in the top 8 that were medalists of different places, first through 8th, and we only had one, Sophie Christensen, who got 2 tied for 3rd. So it was our depth in our team. The old saying, "Together, everyone achieves more," and that's pretty much our team. One town, one team, one dream, and that's what we took into it. And our forced score both days is what won us the tournament. And we got it from different people in our lineup. Isabel Ascensions, we used her score. She's a freshman. It was her first state tournament this year. In our 6th spot, Maya Boki. I'm not sure if we used her score on the second day or not, but if we did, we would have been fine there as well. So I had four of them returning from multiple state tournaments that they've been in. Around 3 right now for 3 of the players. Yeah, it was just exciting, and it's fun to be there with not only your players, but as a coach, but see the excitement, but also, the parents and grandparents, great grandparents, other fans. And we had a, following of, younger girls as well that are looking forward to be in the program in years to come.
That's awesome. 2-day score, team score 646. You and I were chatting off air. I'm from that neck of the woods, so I've played Ridges and I've made a mess of that place. What was the course playing like this week?
Well, it's difficult as always. It's a championship golf course. I was just going through my head on the front 9. I think you can hit it out of bounds on 6 holes, and on the back 9 you can hit it out of bounds on 5 or 6 holes, and then the back 9 there's water on 8 of the 9 holes on the back 9. So, and it's kind of got that stretch of holes. On the PGA Tour, I know they have like 3 holes at certain courses where they say, these are the tough 3, and it's at Ridges, it's the 12, 13, and 14, 3 par 4s in a row, and you have to make shots. You have to hit the ball where it needs to be, and on all 3 of the holes, it's not a driver hole either. It's a layup hole to a yardage, and then hit it across a pretty wide creek and river that's running and making noise, and you kind of got to put that in the back of your mind and execute the shot. But all in all, we played those holes well, except for on Wednesday, the second day. We had a little trouble there. I think on the whole 14th hole, we ended up with out of the 6 players, I think we had 3 water balls, and out of bounds and an unplayable lie. So the 14th hole got us pretty good, and that's probably where we would have separated ourselves a little more in the scoreboard. But hey, it doesn't matter. Like I told the girls, if you win by 1 or if you win by 100, it doesn't matter. We're the state champs, and we got back to back.
Right. A win's a win. Doesn't matter how you get it. And speaking of water, we just showed the video. We'll pop it up here again. You got to tell us about the tradition of jumping into the pond after it's all done. Well, what was that experience like for you and the team?
It was kind of the same as about 365 days ago. This one was I don't know, the water was cooler for some reason, I think because we had rain that morning or the night before, so it actually was refreshing. It's not the cleanest. It's not like jumping in a lake at Detroit Lakes here. We definitely came away with some weeds and dirt and mud and other things, but it's just it's really fun to do, and it's a moment that you share with your team, and that's kind of caps off the state tournament. It caps off the year, and there's 8 teams that play in the state tournament, and on the girls, and 8 teams on the boys side, and all 8 of them want to be jumping in that pond, as not nice as it is, regardless after the second day.
Do you know the story of how that started? I think I saw, 2012 that got started? Do you know the story of the origin of that?
Yeah. So we have our famous alumni, Adam Thielen, to thank for that whole starting of it. He told his team before that day, he goes, if we if we win the state tournament, they were in the lead or tied for the lead, I think, as the story goes. And they won the state tournament. That was Coach Bob Gordon's first state championship for the boys. And he told his team, we're jumping in that pond if we win. And then it's kind of, so that was back in 2009, maybe 2008, something like that. And then it's been, tradition ever since. It's part of the state high school league. And, the Ridges at Sand Creek, for those that don't know it, it's like a 2-level clubhouse, and the top has a really nice deck on it. So like all the employees that are working at the course, they come out when it's time for the the plunge, and they video it and they watch it. So it's a pretty big deal. So it's a great thing to share with your team, and definitely look forward to getting into the locker room and taking showers afterwards. That's for sure.
No doubt. That's fantastic. And then to see the day after that the boys team won a state championship, and they got to jump in the pond. Were you guys just elated to see that as well?
Yes, we actually, I let the girls vote as a team. It didn't matter to me what time, we got back to DL on Wednesday. It ended up being Thursday morning, about 1 a.m. I think is when I finally got to my house. But the girls like, well, let's stay and support the boys. Our girls support our boys programs. Boys support girls programs. The coaches are close. Vern Schneidhorst and Jay Peterson are good friends of mine, and we want each team to succeed. And I was hoping they would vote to stay, and they did stay. So we actually got to watch the boys, and before they did the official plunge, we took a team picture of both state titles with the girls and boys. So that'll be a memory at the school. That's and a memory awesome. For all the families and players, forever.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I got to ask you about the team here as you're done with the season now. Sophie Christensen, you mentioned her, finished in the top 5. Is this she had a couple of great rounds, by the way, at Ridges. Is this the next local golfer we should keep an eye out on? She's just a freshman.
She is just a freshman. She's be a sophomore next year. Yeah, she's going to play, Division I golf somewhere. That's her goal. I know her goal is to play at Duke right now, so it's pretty high. She can get there. She has the work ethic, the mindset, but we also have a senior next year, Tatum Gathridge, who's already signed with Augustana, a Division II school in Sioux Falls. So she's got that, and then a sophomore who would be a junior, JC Slipper, and her scoring average is in the right around that 78, 79 all year too. So it's not just Sophie coming back. We're honored and humbled by about the depth that we have, and we also have depth waiting to get into the program of 7th and 8th graders that are coming up too. And a matter of fact, one of the 7th grader was the odd girl out this year, so made a run at even making the team as a 7th grader.
Well, that's one thing I was going to ask you. I was looking at the scores of the players that were posted at the state tournament. It's a really young team that you have, and to have this level of success, 9 titles, new faces all the time. I mean, that's really impressive. You got to be over the moon with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be happier, and they're good kids too. I tell the parents every year at the banquet, if you didn't have good girls and good girls to coach, I won't be coaching. I can, I'd spend my time golfing instead of coaching. So, but no, they're great kids. They get along good with, and it's just fun to see. They got text messages and phone calls from prior players from prior years that won state titles, and my phone, I don't think I've answered all the text messages from former players yet, but I'm working on that. And it's just a tradition. And DL, Detroit Lakes area, we're known for high school and junior golfers. We have the GOAT, as I call her, Kate Smith, who's on the LPGA tour now, and she took the time out on our practice round. So Monday, she actually took the time out and contacted me and wanted to talk to the team.
Oh, that's awesome.
The day before the state tournament. So we spent about a half an hour on a Zoom video call with her, and she was preparing for a tournament in Michigan this week on the LPGA tour. So I surprised the girls with that. It's hard to keep surprises from people these days nowadays with the media and news and all that. And I just had it on our schedule that we're having a team meeting at 8:00 in the morning, and they were wondering why so early. But yeah, that's when Kate couldn't get it taken care of. So then that's when we did it.
That's fantastic. Do you think that played a role in this week? Getting some words of encouragement?
I think not only from Kate, but also, the two seniors we had last year, Laura Silty and Hannah Knope. Anna Seahawk, I know, reached out to the players. McKenna Mallow had a phone conversation with the players on Friday night. She was a former player and on a couple of the state tournament teams. So yeah, it's just everybody wants them to do well. Everybody wants them to succeed, and everybody wants to keep the program, at the top.
That's fantastic. One more before we let you go. I remember last year we went out and did the story on this as well. Last year after the season was done, it wasn't done. You had an opportunity to play again. PGA High School National Invitational in Frisco, Texas. Is that something that's potentially on the schedule for this summer?
I'd say it's possible. There's talk about it.
Yeah.
I haven't, it might even be where maybe the boys teams goes this year and or maybe both teams. Not sure yet at this point in time, but it's definitely in the works, I guess they would say.
Well, Dustin, congratulations. Tell your team congratulations as well, and thanks for joining us on this Friday morning.
All right, appreciate the coverage. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Dustin Martin, the head coach of Detroit Lakes Girls Golf, joining us here on this Friday morning after a big week at a fantastic golf course, Ridges at Sand Creek down in Jordan, Minnesota. Again, 646 was the two-day score. Minnewaska, 655, so 9 strokes better than the second-place finish. Mentioned Sophie Christensen. She finished T4, tied 4th, 13 over through 2 days. Challenge you to go out and do that, no doubt about that. 157 for the 2-day total. So it's pretty impressive. And congratulations to the boys team as well, getting it done. I think it was the first time in over a decade. So good time to play golf in DL. Good day to be a Laker, no doubt about that. And again, big thank you to Dustin for joining us this morning. Let's take another break. Got more golf I want to chat about. U.S. Open, of course, started yesterday, going on now. We'll recap round 1 and take a peek at what's happening in round 2 as we get ready for the weekend. Of course, Red Lake County Baseball, we're chatting that at 10:35 in their crazy day yesterday to lead them to the state championship. That's coming up next on Hot Mic. Welcome back on this Friday the 13th edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, also streaming on Inform.com. Big thank you to Dustin Martin for joining us, chatting DL golf. You see the raindrops on our tower cam there. I think that squanders my hope of any golf today. That's a shame. Hopefully it clears up this weekend. Want to get back out on the course, no doubt about that. We go from high school golf to the professional level. Of course, the U.S. Open going on. Round 1 was yesterday. Round 2 is in action today. They start very, very early. Interesting day yesterday, and it's shaping up to be a pretty interesting day today, it looks like, as well. The hype going into the tournament, we talked about it yesterday when I was on the show with Dom. The hype was that the course was leading into the tournament pretty much going to be unplayable. The grass was, you can't find the ball. You can't hit out of it. The greens are like glass. Good luck keeping any ball on the green. Well, that proved to be the case for quite a few people, but it also wasn't the case for top of the leaderboard. There was 10 guys under par yesterday, and the leader, J.J. Spahn, who was yet to tee off today, was 4 under. But I think you showed at Oakmont that there's teeth. Obviously, we knew that going in, that there's still plenty of teeth, and we saw that in round 1. We'll show you some of the highlights from yesterday, and we'll talk about what's going on here today. This is J.J. Spahn, who I mentioned is the leader in the clubhouse, 4 under, shot a 66 yesterday. Pretty impressive score. Did not think we would see that mark. I had high hopes for bogey golf, no doubt about that. But he was able to chip in there. Bryson DeChambeau with a bomb for bogey on the par 5 12th. He had an interesting day. If I remember correct, after day 1, he finished even, which is a good spot to be, no doubt about that. Rory McIlroy, one of the world's best, that long one for bogey, and that was just to save bogey. That was from 31 feet. Pretty impressive stuff there. I would have sent that a mile past. Shane Lowry, one of the shots of the day on the par 4 third hole. This is his second from 160 yards out, and got the spin it needed and was able to trickle it in. So an eagle there for Shane Lowry. He couldn't believe it. I don't think anybody could as well. A couple of impressive shots. We'll show you another one in just a little bit, which was the shot of the day from Patrick Reed. But big shot there. A hole out for eagle from Shane Lowry. Solid day from him as well. Siwoo Kim had a long birdie putt here around the collar of the green. He nailed it. He, I believe, was 3 under after the first round, and in his post-round interview said that he has no idea what he's doing out there. This course is too hard for him. He was open about it, and that's what he had to say, which I thought was hilarious because he's at the top of the leaderboard. He was doing fantastic. He's currently, 2 under, and he tees off at 136 today. But to shoot 2 under and say that the course is too hard, I don't know if you're bragging or not. But Rory McIlroy, once again, struggling to get out of whatever mess he finds himself in greenside. It was just a deep rough, and it's going to be the same today. This was the shot of the day. Patrick Reed, if you missed it, from 286 yards out on the par 5 fourth hole, buries it for a double eagle for Patrick Reed. 286 yards. I know a lot of people who drives aren't going 286 yards, myself included. And to nail that, impressive. I don't know where you stand on Patrick Reed. I know a lot of the golf community is not a big fan of him, whatever. But you got to respect the shot. That's really impressive. That was hands down the shot of the day. His reaction was priceless. He had no clue. Turns out it went in. So Patrick Reed coming home with the shot of the day. Couple of highs, a lot of lows yesterday. Leaderboard looks as follows as we go into round 2 here. I mentioned J.J. Spahn, 4 under. He's at the top of it. Tristan Lawrence, he's 3 under. He's in second. So J.J. will tee off at 11:52. And here, let me pop this out of the way for you. And it looks like Lawrence will tee off at 1:20. Sam Burns is going right now. He's putting together a solid round. 2 under so far. So, 4 under on the round, 2 under on the tournament. Take that. Siwoo Kim, who thought he struggled yesterday, is T3, so not bad. Tom Hoagie yesterday, on the other hand, interesting day from him as well. Started off fairly strong, went 1 over 36 coming in, and then on his second 9, wasn't that great. Went 4 over 39 to finish the day. So a first round 75, which is right about where you want to be to go into the weekend. If you can hang on to that mark or be around there, I think you're going into Saturday and Sunday. And I say that without really looking at what he's done today. Guys, I got it pulled up here on the other tab if you want to pull up his scorecard here. Looks like Tom's not doing horrible. He teed off earlier this morning. 6:51 was his tee time today. This is where he's at right now. Had a birdie on the 5th and a couple of bogeys to wrap up his first 9. So 1 over 36. And last update was that he is par on hole 10. So he's currently 1 over through 10. He's T80 right now. And from what I saw is that the projected cut line for the U.S. Open around 6 plus 6 right now, and that's what is Tom at for the tournament? Plus 6, plus 5. I'll have to do a quick peek on that. You get the official number, but if he can hold on this back 9, yeah, he's plus 6 right now, so he's right at the line, and I'm sure that's going to adjust throughout the day. Still a lot of tee times to go. If he can hold on, he's going to make the cut. And I believe, I remember correctly, that'd be the first time at the U.S. Open since 2021 that Tom Hoagie was able to make the cut there. So we'll see how it shapes up. But as of right now, I would say this golf tournament is as advertised with how it's playing out. Scores are high, but then you have the few, maybe we'll call them no names, even though they're professional golfers, but maybe people players that people may not know that are going to have these good rounds, and we'll see if they hold on to them. I really don't think, unless, I don't know, 4 under, maybe. I'm still going to go with winning score is even or above par. That would mean we would need to see some blow-ups over the next 3 days from some of the guys at the top of the leaderboard. We'll have to see. But so far, Oakmont's got teeth. It's been a fun tournament to watch, and that's my plan for the rest of the day. Take a look at what's going to happen in the U.S. Open, and we'll see if Hoagie can hold on his final 9 to try to make the cut for the first time since 2021. All right, we're due for another break. When we come back, a crazy story out of Minnesota State baseball to pass along your way in Class A. Red Lake County semifinals yesterday, made it to extra innings, game got moved, and then they punched their ticket to the state championship. We're going to have their head coach on to chat about that crazy day. That's coming up in just a couple of moments here on Hot Mic. Oh, there's the sun starting to peek out a little bit here on this Friday morning. Maybe my golf dreams are back in action. Let's see how the rest of the day goes as we continue on this Friday morning on WDAY Extra, Inform.com, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City. Truly crazy story yesterday out of the Class A Minnesota State High School League Baseball Tournament. We featured this story on our news, and we have to talk about it today because I've never seen anything like it. I frankly didn't even know that you could do something like this. And that's where we welcome in our next guest. He is the head coach of Red Lake County, Mike Gullingsrud, to join us here to talk about the crazy day that you guys had yesterday and also the crazy season as well. Can't overshadow that. So, Mike, thanks for joining us this morning. I told the story a couple of times throughout the show, but I wanted to save it for you because you can do it more justice. So give us the rundown of yesterday in the semifinal game against the top seed in the tournament, Parker's Prairie. I'll leave it for you. Give us the rundown of what happened.
Sam, thank you. It's great to visit with you this morning, and you are correct. A lot of memories involved here, and to set that up for the state semifinal game, we knew the day before that the games were going to be moved up. So the first semifinal was at 9:30. Our game was scheduled for 11:30, and we were told we're going to be efficient, get this thing rolling because of the prediction and the weather. We get going. We are 8 innings through. An incredible game, both back and forth, with Parker's Prairie scoring a run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. I think maybe some tournament site managers were hoping it would finish at 7 because the last 2 to 3 innings of the game in St. Cloud was getting to be pretty tough. Conditions for both pitchers, infielders, it was pretty sloppy. But to the point, after 8 innings, the Minnesota State High School League, they have a staff member on site. He met with Coach Derek Denny from Parker's Prairie, myself, and we were all in agreement. It was time to figure out Plan B. And he had a site involved. Jake Munch, who is the head coach in Alexandria, he had already spoke with him. And that's one thing I would definitely want to compliment the Alexandria, not only Coach Munch and other people involved. That was an incredible quick turnaround piece for them to say, oh, by the way, we have a location, it's turf, and we're going to do the best. We hope that the weather, it appears to be a slight window of opportunity. So after 8 innings, it was mentioned, okay, we're going to hop on the bus, we're going to drive an hour north, and we're going to do our best to get in that window and try to finish a game. And so we did. We loaded the kids up, and I don't know how the Parker's Prairie bus was on the way for an hour, but you get that adrenaline, that emotional piece, and then you hop on the bus, and a lot of our guys, it was about a 40-minute nap for some of those guys. It was a quiet bus driving up. We get closer, and then I know Gunnar Halverson, Colin Taggart, 2 of our players, they didn't sleep. I didn't sleep. I know some of the assistants were snoozing a little bit, and it's like, hey, we're getting close. Fire up. We got to get going. And we pull into Alexandria, and the Parker's Prairie fan base, there was several that were well before we made it there. And I don't know if it's true or not, but what had been mentioned was some of the Parker's Prairie from Alexandria, a fairly close trip. A lot of the fans that maybe weren't in St. Cloud were able to make it over. And for us then to roll in, and we had a terrific fan base following. We get to the site. We were allowed a warm-up, starters only IO. And that window, I give Emmett a lot of credit. He was our Minnesota State High School League staff. I was very doubtful of looking at the radar and what was potentially going to happen. And he said, I think we got a chance. He wanted to make sure Coach Danny and myself were comfortable with the environment. And I said, it's actually better than I thought. So we did get the game going. Obviously, we in the top of the ninth, 2 outs. Keegan Schmidt's at the plate. He hits a rocket double that off the bat, I think all of us as the coaching staff, we thought the ball was out with the wind direction and being in a different, it was blowing out. And then we get to Brock Seeger with a hard ground ball to short and a ball that wasn't handled on the throw, and Keegan scores. And then back to the point of the fan base and all the events that led up to it there. A lot more as there's a double play that finishes the game, and the memories of our program and what's been going on, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
We're watching some of the highlights here of this game, and it's just interesting to see it start in St. Cloud and then move to Alex. And you and I were talking before we got on air here. I had never seen anything like this. I didn't even know it was a possibility. Did you know that there is a chance, like once the rain delay started, that this game could get moved 70 miles down the road?
I don't know if I would say that we would know about a site. In our state tournament information, they do mention the fact of, other sites, potentially being moved. Now, maybe the day of, you don't expect an extra inning game. You get through 8 innings, and then you drive an hour away, and you play for the next 15, 20 minutes. Oh, now we're done, and that's the way it is. That's not something that I had thought of as far as especially at that state of the tournament, the stage of the tournament. But again, I give a lot of credit to getting things completed. I think obviously you could have had a suspended game, maybe come back Friday, but the Emmett in the league, they look at Friday. They know that Fridays could be a tough thing. Right. As we're sitting in Alexandria, a little gray, wet day as well. So again, I thought the way things worked out, obviously for both teams to be able to finish it is a good thing.
Absolutely, and we saw it there on the clip as well. The fans traveled very well from St. Cloud to Alexandria, isn't that right?
Correct. I mentioned the Parkers Prairie fan base swelled a little bit from what we had in St. Cloud, and their fan base was loud. Our fan base has been incredible. I mean, the send off we received from home before the state tournament started, and then the number of fans that have been around. For our program, it's been 10 years since they've been in a state tournament, and you have a lot of firsts involved. You have all of our players that are first time, of course. Coach Gary Casman is the only coach that was a part of the program 10 years ago. Robbie Glass, one of our assistant coaches, Cole Larson, one of our assistant coaches, they've played in a state tournament with Red Lake County Baseball in the past. And for myself, this is the first state tournament after coaching now for 20 years with, this is the third different program, but the fan base, back to that point, parents, the energy, Red Lake Falls, Oakley, Plummer, 3 different communities and everybody in between absolutely are showing up. They're loud, which is great. We had a couple tight calls yesterday. Things get a little irritated from some, and in the same regard, the support for the kids, the donations, they treat our kids like kings. And as I did mention to the boys yesterday, even in our pregame talk and then afterwards, the boys are going to not only remember things for a lifetime, but it's just things of this nature, it's things that they won't ever forget.
That's fantastic. It's truly a cool story. And then to go on to win, to go to the championship game, which we'll touch on here in just a second. But this is just another notch in what has already been a fantastic year up there at Red Lake County. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of these guys were on the basketball team that made the state tournament. Just talk about the year athletically that these kids are having.
Thanks, Sam, and you are right. The boys involved here are one, they're very talented in everything that they do. Second thing, they are great young men too. I mean, we don't have too many knuckleheads that you have to worry about. There might be some things off the field that I don't see, but together as a team, they're special. So with that being said, we could look in the fall season. The football season had a very good year, losing in a section championship game. You get into the boys hockey season. The boys, I think, maybe had one of the the most number of wins they've had maybe in program history. And then you get into the basketball team. They make it all the way to the state semifinals. They didn't take a loss, but they finished third in state. And the simple thing we could mention for all the guys is, one, they're talented. Two, they're dedicated. They are not part-time athletes. And then the third thing is they're very competitive, and winning matters. Yes, there's going to be some moments where things don't always go well, but this baseball team has been a special group, and to be currently 24-5 against some high-quality Section 8A teams. We've played some AA teams, and this state tournament is, for the first time, we've seen teams in the past as far as being as a fan and watching games. Parker's Prairie is absolutely tremendous, and we know that New Ulm Cathedral was going to be a high test tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, tell us about that championship game. It's 10 o'clock tomorrow. What are the feelings? You go from two different venues on one day to the biggest venue in the state at Target Field. Tell us what the emotion's like going into that tomorrow.
It is incredible excitement, and so in the pregame talk before the game yesterday, one of the things I asked the guys, there's 18 players and a manager, and I said, all right, how many of you guys have been in Target Field? I wasn't sure. I was thinking my number might be a little higher, and I looked at everybody, and one player raised his hand. He said, I've never been in Target Field. And so you have 17 other players. I thought that's pretty good, because not all of our guys on our team are baseball fans or baseball players, but some don't always follow the game a lot. And I thought that's pretty impressive. But for that one player, I thought this is going to be, you walk in, as we all know, the beauty of the ballpark, it just catches you, and it takes a little bit to absorb some things. And then I think for our guys to understand that you get to be out on the field where many of the Twins greats, look at some of the best players in the major league level to be out there, and it's going to be hard to process early. We're going to try and get there as early as we can and just absorb. We have our itinerary that was set up by the league this morning, and it's truly a special moment. I know I've spoken with a couple area coaches that have been in this moment. I looked at Fossen from a couple years, Roseau from the past, coaches that have great advice for our coaching staff and for the team, just in the environment piece that's with it. So, we're looking forward to it. We before we left, we had the team information of, we got a plan for 4 days. You have to understand, get packed and ready. And we knew that in St. Cloud, hopefully, just to try to plan ahead with a win in the state semis, we're not planning to go back north. We were planning to continue to go south. Well, I didn't plan to go back north to Alexandria and then turn around to go back south. But with that being said, we'll go wherever they send us. Now, we want to be on Target Field, and we'll get our game in tomorrow. But again, it's a special group, and it's going to be some ongoing special memories.
Fantastic. One more for you before we let you go. You told me you're in a hotel room in Alexandria after all that. What's the schedule today? It's an off day before the biggest game of these guys' baseball career. What's the schedule to get them back on track?
So right now the team left ahead of me. I'm the last guy here, just hanging out, speaking with you, Sam, which is incredibly apprecited. But boys, we've got an indoor practice here in Alexandria. We'll go from 11 till 1. We have an incredibly generous donor that is they will purchase a meal for the team afterwards here in Alexandria. From there, we'll head on down to Brooklyn Center. We'll kind of get settled into our hotel. We'll have a pretty casual afternoon. The remainder, we're gonna have a little team function tonight, little fun with something together, and then hopefully get some shut eye at some point. Yeah. The heart rate hopefully will calm down a little bit, and then we'll head over to Target Field in the morning. The itinerary is already set, and for someone like myself to know that there's going to be things you don't know. But the staff and the people that are there are going to be terrific, and we'll work our way through it. And the bottom line is we still got to play a baseball game and focus on one more piece here. And let's go, as most coaches will say, you got to go one inning, one batter, one pitch. Hard to do, but in the same regard, we know that it's going to take a full effort to bring home a state championship against a New Ulm Cathedral team that, again, is incredibly talented.
Absolutely. Mike, we got to get you off to practice. Thanks for coming on this morning. Looking forward to watching the game, and best of luck to you and your team tomorrow.
Appreciate your time. I'll tell you what, one more thing that I mentioned to the kids is that you guys are immortal. in the world of Red Lake County baseball, because the program has been to the state tournament, but they've never made it past a state semifinal to move on. These are memories that they will never forget. We will never forget, and they are definitely a special group.
That's fantastic. Hey, best of luck tomorrow, and we'll be rooting from here.
You, Sam. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Mike Gullingsrud joining us, the head coach of Red Lake County Baseball at the state tournament for the first time in 10 years. And you just heard him mention they've never made it to the championship game, and they'll have an opportunity to play for the title tomorrow. 10 o'clock in the morning start time at Target Field. They're the 5 seed in this Class A tournament. They got the 2 seed New Ulm Cathedral out of Section 2A, Red Lake County out of Section 8A. That's a doozy. What a conversation there with Mike. Fun to hear. Fun trip. That's what the state baseball tournament, state tournaments, high school sports, that's what that's all about. Making memories and getting a couple of wins along the way. Oh, and by the way, potentially playing for a chance at the state title. So that's a cool story. That's pretty neat. And big thank you to Mike for taking a couple of minutes. Due for a break. Let's step aside. When we come back, we got some college baseball news to pass along, and then we're getting out the door, getting ready for the weekend here on this Friday morning. Hot Mike continues, wraps up after this. All right, a couple minutes left to wrap up the show on this Friday morning. These tower cams are tricking me. You're showing me sun one time, showing me rain the next time. Have to watch the news at 11 to get the weather forecast coming up here on WDAY. Before we go out the door today, some college baseball news for you. Of course, the College World Series starts today, and I'll give you a rundown of the games here in just a moment. But news for North Dakota State baseball, of course, last week we told you that a crop of their talent, some of the best players this season, they've entered the transfer portal after their season came to an end at the Arkansas Regional. We now know where one of the most highly sought-after mid-major players in Jake Schaffner is going to go. He announced, he actually didn't, sources put out yesterday that it looks like Jake Schaffner, who is the shortstop, Summit League Defensive Player of the Year, all first conference this year. Fantastic player. If you didn't watch him in his time at NDSU, you missed out. He could hit, he could run, and obviously he could field. And what a career a couple of years he put together at NDSU. Entered the transfer portal, and he will now take his talents to North Carolina to play for the Tar Heels. And that is a pretty solid place to continue your college baseball career. Schaffner hit .353 over 2 seasons here at NDSU. From what we've gathered, sources told Dom, who again is out on vacation this week, that he's likely to command 6 figures. Now, I don't know what that means with the house settlement stuff that just went through. I don't know if that number changes or not, but that's a pretty hefty haul for Jake Schaffner, and I think that's a guy that deserves it because he is an all-around ball player. Tough loss for NDSU, and I've said it before on this show, never knock a player for moving on, getting paid, playing at a big Power 4 level. UNC, they won the ACC this year, went 46-15. They hosted a regional and a super regional. They fell short in the super regional to Arizona, but we now know where Jake Schaffner is off to, going to play for the Tar Heels. So that is a big bump, a big move up in the world there. So congratulations to Jake. Be curious to see where these other guys end up. There's about 6 in total, now 5 still remaining in the portal that put together really solid years and a couple of years for North Dakota State baseball. I mentioned College World Series coming up tonight. You got 2 games tonight, 2 games tomorrow. Coastal Carolina, Arizona at 2 today. Oregon State, Louisville at 7. UCLA and Murray State at 2 tomorrow. And Arkansas and LSU at 7. Murray State, of course, the team to watch. The story of college baseball. No doubt about that. A team that was the 4 seed in the regional, making it to the College World Series. Just got a couple of seconds left. Let's get into our what to watch before we get out of here on this Friday morning. Okay, quickly on the what to watch. Of course, you got the NBA Finals tonight, 7:30 on ABC. You can catch it here on WDAY. Oklahoma City and the Pacers. See if the Pacers can continue on this great stretch. See if they can bring home a title. We'll have to see. Again, the Twins at Houston tonight, starting a 6-game road stretch. 7 o'clock start time for that on Twins TV. We just had Cory Provus on earlier. We'll see what they do. And then obviously the U.S. Open, it's happening now. You can catch it. It's on Peacock, and then later on today it's on NBC, and then their post-round coverage back on Peacock once again. Big thank you to all our guests today. Cory Provus, Dustin Martin, talking Detroit Lakes Golf, and also to Mike Gullingsrud getting ready for the state championship and their crazy day tomorrow. If you missed any part of the show, you can podcast at WDAY Plus and Inform.com. We'll see you next week.